Hi, hello, namaste friends. Welcome to our channel A Civil Engineer. For more interesting videos like this, please do subscribe and press the bell icon. In this video, we are going to understand what is pre-stress concreting and what are its methods. That is, what is pre-tensioning and post-tensioning, friends. Once you finish watching this video, I'm damn sure that you're not going to have a single doubt on this concept. If you do have, please comment it in the comment section. In this video, we are going to cover what pre-stress concrete means and why do we do this method, and the methods of pre-stressing also we'll understand, and also at the last we'll see what are the major differences between those methods of pre-stressing also. So firstly, let us try to understand what exactly this pre-stress concrete means. Here it is, friends. So this pre-stressing concrete means it is nothing different from it is very much different from the conventional reinforced concrete structures, because we are going to apply some initial load which acts as a stress over the pre-stress member. So basically it is the concrete in which the internal stresses of the suitable magnitude and distribution are introduced so that the stresses resulting from external loads are counteracted to the desired amount. So here let us try to clearly understand this what I have told. So here first let us see, this is a normal beam, friends. In this beam what happens actually, this beam is subjected to some point load, because of which that is going to bend in this manner, which I have shown you in the next step. So this green color one is the deflection shape or the elastic curve of the beam. Later what I have done, to the same beam I have removed the load and I tried to do some pre-stressing to the by providing some pre-tension or post-tension or some external pre-stressing within this member. So what happened, I tried to pull the rebars, or I tried to pull the tendons which are acting upon it, uh, and later I tried to release it. Then what happens, due to some tensile stress, so as we have applied some tension load here and here, so this tensile stress will try to induce some compressive force into this concrete member. Because what happens, these steel tendons, see, tendons are basically like this, friends. They are made of some group of strands, so that is called as tendons. You can see it in the figure here. So here what you understand means, these tendons are released, and as per the elastic nature of those tendons, these tendons will try to come back to its original position. But what happens when the concrete, as the concrete is hard due to some bonding stress or due to some anchorage which is provided, based on those criteria it tries to apply some axial load. That axial load, which is something like this, which I have shown in the fourth one, this axial load will try to act, because of which it will, this beam is going to deflect in the upward direction, because this is not the concentric load, friends. This we have applied somewhere below the neutral axis, that is in the tension zone of the concrete. So what happens, this is initially bent in the upward direction. This is going to be counteracted by the outward loads. See, this outward load means this is some external load which is acting on the member here. So what happened, friends, initially we had some deflection of delta here, consider it as delta 1, and later what happened, this deflection is something like around delta 2. Now what I can say is delta 2 is much less than delta 1. So this is how we are going to get some advantage. See, basically you, if you see the concept here, what happens when there is no load here, I am talking about this figure, that is, here you will see some cracks which are being generated. What happens because of these cracks, what happens, the ability of the concrete or the ability of the steel which is not coming into, the complete ability of these members or materials are not properly used. So what happens, because of these cracks, we are the stiffness of this complete concrete gets decreased, and because of this the load carrying capacity also gets decreased. But whereas here, if you see, initially you will be getting some cracks like this. Once the load is applied, then what happens, these cracks are going to be closed up, because this comes into the, this complete area comes into the compression zone, and later you will form some or you will see some very small cracks here. So those cracks will not be that significant, or it will not be that heavy use that this structure can be called as unserviceable. So this is the major advantage of using pre-stress, friends. So this is basically done by tensioning the steel reinforcement or steel tendons which are provided within the member. Now let us understand why do we use this method, why pre-stress has come into picture. Is there any problem with the concrete what we use, which is conventionally used by us? Yes, definitely yes, friends. There are some reasons because of which we have come up with a new concept, that is pre-stress concrete, which nowadays we are very much using it, and this utilization has become very much dominant in most of the major bridges. If you see mostly in bridges, or else if you see where there is a long span where the uh, where you can expect some huge amount of bending moments, in such case, or else where you expect some huge amount of deflection, in such cases this is very much useful to utilize. So let us see what are the drawbacks because of which it has led to come up with this new concept of concreting. So those are something like this, friends. See, we do use this pre-stress method because there are basically some catches of reinforced cement concrete. So those are something like this. One for the first one is something like cracking in tensile region as concrete is weak in tension. See, as I have already mentioned you here, if you notice this location, here there are some major cracks. This is leading to some weakening in tension because the concrete is not going to take part in any tensile load as per limit state design. So that is the reason why we go with the pre-stress concrete. And the second one is the excessive deflection. Yes, excessive deflection, friends. Here, once these cracks are formed, and if these cracks are going to propagate deeper into the depth of the beam, then what happens? The stiffness is definitely going to reduce, and because of which stiffness is nothing but load per unit deflection. When the deflection is reducing, obviously the stiffness is going to I mean, when the deflection is increasing, obviously the stiffness is going to decrease drastically. And the third one is because of this excessive cracking, that can create some durability problems. That is nothing but the serviceability problems. If the lifespan of a particular structure is something like around 50 years, then it would definitely be unserviceable in 30 years or 25 years. So this is one among the reasons which has led to develop this pre-stress concrete method. And the last but not the least, the fourth point is, friends, here in most of the RCC structures we do use some rebars which are something around FE415, FE500, but to be very specific, we never come or we never reach that much amount of strength, I mean that much amount of tensile stress. But even though we do provide, so this high strength steel is not going to be completely utilized. But remember, friends, when you are making some pre-stressed concrete, the steel whatever you use, those will not be of HYSD steel bars which are of Fe415 and Fe500. We are going to make use of higher grade, because in this pre-stressed concrete the complete strength or the complete strength of the material we are going to make use of it. Mostly it is something around 900 to 1400 MPa. That is the maximum stress which we generally use for steel instead of some 500 or 415. So the third one, friends, I told you that we are going to discuss what are these methods of pre-stressing. So let us get into that. So here we have covered what pre-stress concrete means. The next one is why do we use this method, and next coming to methods of pre-stressing, friends. So in here the basic methods of pre-stressing are basically, that is internal pre-stressing, and the other one is external pre-stressing. So what is internal pre-stressing? Here, friends, internal pre-stressing means the bars or the tendons which are within the concrete are going to be subjected to some initial tensile stress, which in turn leads to some internal stress within the concrete member. But whereas external pre-stressing, friends, it would be something like this. See, if you see some bar or member here, in that member what we do provide some different supporting structure or supporting arrangement, such that These are some hydraulic jacks. These hydraulic jacks will try to provide some external pressure, which is that compressive stress they provide, and that compressive load, not stress, compressive load will be provided, and that will be acting as a initial pre-stress. But this is very much not utilized because the uh, cost is very high, and the accuracy of maintaining this load is very much less. That's why most of the times we do not prefer to go for external pre-stressing. But whereas internal pre-stressing, friends, internal pre-stressing, in again there are two methods of internal pre-stressing. That is, one is pre-tensioning, the other one is post-tensioning. So let us see in a better way. So here it is, friends. So I think from this picture you can understand very clearly what exactly this pre-tensioning and post-tensioning means. Even then I'll try to make you understand from this picture itself, because it explains you very clearly including the labels. In the case of pre-tensioning, friends, what happens before laying the concrete? The molds are properly arranged, and within that, what they do, this dotted line, whatever you are seeing here, this is a steel rebar or steel tendons which are provided like this, and they are pulled and tied to an abutment like structure. So this will try to put some tensile stress within this bar, and it holds it in position. Later what happens, they will cast these concrete members. Okay, so these concrete members, what happens, these are acting as a precasting or pre-stressing members. These basically, if you see some railway projects, under every rail you do see some sleepers. All these sleepers are basically nothing but pre-tensioning sleepers, or even we call it as a precast sleepers as well. And next, coming to post tensioning, friends, in post tensioning what happens, we do concreting, but before doing the concreting, what we will do is we will we'll put this rebar, and we will give some coating over this rebar, or else we do provide some duct, something like this, friend. This is called as tendon, sorry, sheathing. So within this sheeting, what happens, it is something like a duct. You can see it in this picture like this. It would be something like this, and this is placed in position, and the rebar is our rebar or tendon is put in its position, and later they will fill it with concrete, friends. So this complete region is filled with concrete, but there is no direct contact between concrete and this tendon, because you will be having some air space or clear space within the duct. So later what they will do, after the concrete gets hardened, then what happens with this anchoring equipment or this hydraulic jacks, they will provide with this hydraulic jack some tensile stress in this tendon, and later these hydraulic jacks are removed and provided with a permanent jacks. So what happens, this becomes permanent, and these permanent jacks will try to hold it in position by bearing at this member. So this bearing area they will utilize, and within this bearing area they will create some tensile stress or compressive force. See, friends, I am saying tensile stress, which is nothing but gives you compression force, whereas compressive stress gives you tension force. Please don't get confused in this, you need to understand. Okay, so this is how some concrete member is being subjected to post tensioning. This is how it acts. So in better way you will understand what pre-stress does. See, I am considering a cross section of beam where I am providing a tendon here. This tendon, after providing compression stress, or else after providing some tensile stress, what happens, you will see some direct stress due to pre-stress, because for suppose if this load is P, what happens, this will become P by A, and due to some eccentricity whatever is provided here, because of that eccentricity some stress will be generated, and because of the stress some bending moment will be generated. That will be something around M by Z, and again this is due to external loads. So when you are applying some external load on a beam, what happens, you do see some tension at the bottom and compression at the top. That's why here it is plus and this is negative. So that also you will see this is also m by z. So overall what happens if you sum up all these three, 1 2 and 3, you will see something like this, friends. So you are not going to see any neutral axis falling in between. That means the complete concrete member is in compression. See, plus and plus. So the complete member is acting as an axial member. So because of which you can utilize the strength of concrete as well as the total strength of steel all at once. So that is a very good idea of utilizing the concrete strength. Okay, so just by avoiding tension force within the concrete, that is the only concept here. So let us understand the differences between pre-tensioning and post-tensioning, and we'll wind up this video, friends. Here are some of the differences which I have jotted out. That is, the left side points are all for pre-tensioning and the right side points all are for post-tensioning. So for the first one is pre-tensioning is basically done in the factories. Thus it is very much suitable for precast construction. As I have already mentioned you, while casting they will do some molds and they will pull the bars and they will put it in a position using some abutments, and then they will pour the concrete and concrete gets hardened, and then they will cut off the rebar or the tendons. So then what happens, thus this tensile stress will be acting on it. Now coming to post tensioning, friends, post tensioning can be done in factories as well as at the site. So you have a flexibility of doing it either at the site or at the factory. Now coming to the second point, friends, what happens, these strands are tensioned before casting the concrete and later these are cut off. But whereas in post tensioning, the strands are enclosed within a duct and then the concrete is casted. The process of tensioning the strands is carried out after this concrete gets hardened. So once it reaches its strength, then only we will try to apply the hydraulic jack forces. Okay, and this pre-tensioning is basically used for small sections for construction, whereas this post-tensioning is used for a large number of large size members, where basically, as I mentioned you, like for long span bridges etc., we do use this. And coming to its losses, the pre-stressing losses, because in pre-tensioning what happens, you can see a direct contact between concrete and tendons. That is the reason why you see here some high amount of losses, because there is a chance of slippage, or else there is a chance of concrete shrinkage, and there is a chance of concrete creep due to some time effect. So that because of that reason we do some we do see some slightly higher amount of losses. But whereas post tensioning, friends, we do see comparatively less amount of losses in post tensioning. This losses can basically happen if the bearing area which is considered for this anchorage at the point of anchorage, if you get some if you see some cracks, small cracks, that may lead to some small losses. Coming to the fifth point, friends, here pre-tensioning members are produced in a mold as I have shown you in the picture, whereas here the cables are used in place of wires and jacks and are used for stretching. So that you have, it is very clear in understanding. Next, coming to the other points, that is the sixth one. In this method, the concrete is pre-stressed with the tendons before it is placed in position. In this method, pre-stressing is done after the concrete attains sufficient strength. This is clearly shown even in the point 2 as well. This method is developed due to the bonding between the concrete and steel tendons. This is very important, friends. In pre-tensioning, the bonding stress between the steel tendon and the concrete plays a crucial role in transferring the compression forces into the concrete. Whereas in post tensioning, what happens, this method is basically transferring the force using the bearing area. So based on that bearing area, we do see some compression force acting within the concrete member. This is basically preferred, pre-tensioning is basically preferred when the structural element is small and easy to transport, whereas in post-tensioning what happens, friends, small members all together, they are taken to a common place. See, these all members are taken to a common place and they are held in a position, and later into the duct, within the duct, what happens, they will put some bar and then they will do the anchorages here. So this can be used for heavy or large span structures. Okay, so we can use it for large area, large structures. Where coming to its economical, which one is economical, we'll understand. This is very cheaper. Pre-tensioning is very cheaper because we do not have any sheathing. Sheathing is nothing but the duct what we are using to avoid any contact between concrete and steel tendon. So as we are avoiding some sheathing in pre-tensioning, so it is quite lesser in cost, so it is cheaper, whereas post-tensioning is costlier because of using sheathing thing. And the last thing is, friends, it is more reliable and durable pre-tensioning. That's why our Indian railways, they do use they do use sleepers which are of pre-tensioning only, whereas the durability in post tensioning basically depends upon the two anchorage mechanism. If the two anchorage mechanism whatever you're using here is of very high quality, and there is no chance of any loss, in such case we can also see a high durability in post tensioning also. But this needs a time to time observation for post tensioning at the bearing area. So this is it, friends, the basic difference between post tensioning and pre tensioning. Hope you like this video. That's all about this video, friends and family members. If you had any comments, queries, or if you had any topics in your wish list, then please do let me know by commenting in the comment section. I hope you liked the video. If yes, please do like it. I will be creating more interesting videos like this. Please do subscribe to get updated as soon as I keep posting videos. Share my video to all your friends and family members. Don't forget to press the bell icon.